Hola, vamos. Right now we are gonna get onto the door frames. So a bit different from external painting and routing. This is more maintenance, I would say. But I'm gonna start with sanding them down a little bit because they are quite messy and the old paint job does look rather rough. So yeah, let's clean it all up first before we put any paint down. And yes, I am gonna paint the glass, and this is gonna work very well because I've already done it to a few previous panels, where cleaning them down first is essential, so we actually get the paint to stick on top of the structure instead of dirt, as I keep mentioning. And this was a bit of a nightmare, oh my god. So I'm using a wire brush with a drill, and it's rather annoying, but these hinges, I want them visible and not painted. I think it makes it look much more nicer than having them painted. But yeah, that is the before shot, and the one after was the before shot. So yeah, painting this glass panel. I don't know why it's even there. I don't know why they put that in. It just looks like shit. Actually, these frames are metal. So if you remember one of my first videos when I was doing the closet, that's what I removed, the metal frames. But yeah, before I do any siliconing to the frames themselves, they see where the floor merges, I'm gonna paint them, as you're seeing me do that now. And I'm doing rather thick coats because I don't want to sand down every single frame, because that would just take me forever. So yeah, thick coats just to get the paint acting almost like a filler in a way. Also, you can see that little brown patch, that is caused by my cat because he loves rubbing his face there for some reason. But since then, I put in a little cat scratcher post on where the closet was. So yeah, using that wire brush on my power tool again on those hinge pieces. They actually screw into the door. And yeah, I kept on damaging my fingers through this because I tend to push those pieces into that wire attachment. That wasn't fun. Got a lot of scratches from that. But yeah, although I've done the painting outside, once it's indoors, it's much easier to manage. But I'm not being fast. I'm being very gentle with the roller brush. Okay, there's a lot of bubbles here. So this is where we left at on the first video of the door series. And yeah, a lot of bubbling. And this one just wasn't really going down. And I think this bubbling was caused because the paint underneath, the very first layer, was incompatible. So yeah, it's safe to say that this door is just a pain in the ass. But yeah, it's all my fault because I think around 10 or 15 years ago, around 10 years ago actually, when my mum moved out, when I was renovating this room a little bit and put it up for rent, I think I painted this door with really cheap paint that was almost like powder once it was dried. Like you could touch the door and it's still, as you would move your hand across it, you would leave some sort of powder residue on your fingers. So yeah, it must be the paint, because I could just scrape the paint off with a scraper, so at least I could do that. So I scraped it all off and then give it a quick sand down, and now I'm going to use some IPA, isopropyl alcohol as well, just to make sure there's no residue, because it must have been that. It couldn't have been the water condensation or anything like that. It can't have been that, because clearly the paint just like peeled off. So what a waste of time. But yeah, I was using really cheap paint back then because this place wasn't really mine. And although I had the permission from the previous owners to renovate the place, I didn't do a very good job because I didn't really want to invest more money into a place that wasn't mine. But now it is, so now I'm doing it properly. Okay, kitchen door. So I painted this section and the bottom as well, because that's the only part that needed a touch up. So as you can see, there is bubbling again. And on the back side, 10 times worse. However, so what I noticed yesterday is when I did it looked basically like this yesterday. But after 24 hours, after the paint hardens, all these bubbles completely disappeared and you couldn't tell. Like, it looked like one of these. It looked like grey. So I thought I'd top it up a bit more where it needed. And to be honest, I'm not going to pop him this time. So let's just see what happens tomorrow. Because I know it looks like shit now, but wait until tomorrow. With the light off. Oh, it's too dark. So that's the kitchen. And this is the studio. Now the funny thing is, so this actually has a few spots as well, even though this is the one that I removed all the paint, but this must be just air from the roller maybe. So, but it is a bit surprising that it's there. Oh shit, fingers. And studio on the inside. Now this side looks like shit because this is what I scraped off everything. So this was a bit of a nightmare, but let's just leave it and do another coat maybe tomorrow. And bathroom is actually looked the worst yesterday out of all of the doors, but now it's looking okay, except these bits that I needed to touch up. A lot of this is shadow, and I sanded it down a bit as well because it was sticking out a bit, and we've got bubbling here as well. So as I mentioned, I'm not going to touch that. Okay, now we're onto a little bit of an experiment that I had initially planned, which is painting in black stripes into the bevels, but it is just didn't go anywhere well. It'll look like shit. And this is my test of how to get them perfect, which isn't working at all. What the fuck is with the blowout? Oh my god, man. But I'm trying to prevail and trying to get a good result. But yeah, this just actually looks really cheap. I think I really liked the look of it when I was actually routing out those lines and I saw the contrast, and that looked great. And I think that was what I was aiming for. So initially I was going to do this, paint black stripes, and although you can see some blowouts and imperfections, I was going to perfect them, but then I thought to myself, you know what, this doesn't actually add anything to it. It doesn't make it look better, and what it does, it actually makes it look very cheap, because now it looks like a singular painted striped line. It actually gets rid of the depth perception with the shadows, because you can't even see the cut anymore. You can only see a painted line. I know it's imperfect, like I said, because I got blowouts, even though I used masking tape, I used painter's masking tape, I used various masking tapes. I could have perfected that, but there's no point, because the black paint just makes it look like a painted striped line, so it makes it look cheap. So there's no point of doing this. So at least I tried, and I'm gonna just paint them white now, because there's no point of this. But yeah, I'm really glad that I decided to just cancel that whole stripe method, because first of all, it would have taken ages to do all the stripes, and then it would have taken even longer to perfect the stripes because of all the blowout and all the paint just leaking into areas that it shouldn't be at. So thank God for that. But yeah, let's put in the hardware back in, oil things up, and I can actually finally finish off the doors. And yeah, removing the, I forget what these parts are called, but yeah, using that wire attachment, and it gets rid of the paint very well. So here's a quick side-by-side example, before and after. It actually makes it look so much nicer. And you can see this door on the left needs quite a bit of work, because it's now like 2 or 3 centimeters higher. Well, the gap is larger because the new floors feel like they are lower, because I removed all the sound insulation. I forgot what they're called, because this floor has the sound barrier, not sound, not insulation, but foam kind of built in. So I'm going to have to extend that door. That's why I left it till last. Also, it has a mirror on the back of it, which will need to be removed and then detached from the MDF panel, because I'm going to move it to the toilet. So there's a few reasons why I put these insulations in between doors. So although the doors are internal, I would rather have them there so that the doors don't rattle. Without them in, before I put them in, the doors would rattle when there's a wind or draft, like shake back and forth and make noise. And I suppose when I do some DIY work and I sand, it's better to have those gaps sealing the door so that the dust doesn't get through them. I mean, sure, dust can get through the bottom, but still, it's a bit of an improvement having them there. It reduces sound, increases insulation, even though it's not very needed. It just separates the rooms better, I think. These are really cheap to purchase, especially if you buy from China, like AliExpress. They're very good. And the double-sided tape, for once, is actually very, very good.